Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens as we discuss Daniel Farke, who is set to stay at Leeds United. Yeah, I'm saying that because I know there hasn't been massive backing from the 49ers. I know in the title maybe I put 49ers back Farke, but they essentially have backed Farke because they haven't sacked him. So they're not sacking him, they essentially are backing him because if he was going to be sacked, people, I generally do think he'd have been sacked by now. I think he'd have been sacked basically this morning. That's usually when you do it. So I think the fact that he hasn't been sacked yet suggests that actually they are sticking with him and we are going to see Daniel Farke managing for the Man City game. So talk a bit about that and sort of if that's the correct decision. Obviously, I know a lot of you think it's not. I'm sort of more on the fence with it still at this moment in time. I don't think it's that ridiculous that we're not going to put a new manager in for Man City. Personally, a game that we're going to lose with any manager. So we'll talk a bit about that. I also want to talk a bit about a few managers that have been linked today and odds have drastically dropped. So there's been reports about Rodgers has been linked to the football club. So we'll talk a bit about him. And there's also been a massive drop on Corberan's odds. He was something like, I think like 15 to 1 at the start of the day. And now he's something like, I think he's like 5 to 1, less than that now. So that when you see drops in odds like that, it sometimes means that there's something going on. I'm not saying that Corberan's going to come to the football club. I'm not saying Rodgers is going to come to the football club. But I am saying that for 100% right now, 100%, and I can say this with certainty, they will be looking at managers. So, all right, part of this is going to be guessing where they're going to be going with this, but they will be 100% looking at managers, and there's no doubt about that because Daniel Farke's job, regardless if they're going to sack him or not, is definitely, obviously, in jeopardy at this moment in time. So, there are a few things we're going to discuss. Obviously, get all your guys' comments in as well, but also as well of this, part of this is that, like, I look around all the YouTube scene, obviously, I've watched so much content, and it is such a dark place at this moment in time, the Leeds space. It's so dark, it's so negative. So part of this stream, let's try to keep it as positive as we can. I know it's horrendous times, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it by just throwing positivity at you, because I don't think that's what anyone wants. But in the same way, I can't be bothered going down the path of negative, we're going to get relegated, oh, it's all crap, everyone, like, do you know what I mean? I feel like we're over that now. We're a day after. So let's try sort of, like I remember a stream after we did after the Forest game, not the closing whistle in that one. And it was a really nice vibe to it. And I want to try create a similar sort of feel tonight as well. I hope you guys enjoy that. Danny says, evening, Scott, smash a like and subscribe, please. Thank you very much for saying that, Danny, because that is important, because I always forget to say that. And actually, when I do say that, I seem to get far more likes. So if you could do what Danny said and drop a like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. There's also this hype button as well. I don't know if it's available when you're watching on live. But if you are watching on a pre-record afterwards, if you could drop that hype button, that seems to massively help. It's like a new feature, I think, that YouTube are pushing. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. Jack says, evening, Scott, march on together. Evening to you too, Jack. Nice to see you in the chat. But yeah, let's start with why I think Daniel Farke's staying. And I'm also, for the record, going to put my slippers on. There you are. Look at these. Unbelievable. They are old man slippers. You know, don't really care. Quite comfortable. And that's irrelevant to the show, but I just thought I'd let you know that I'm putting them on. Anyway, but yes, I think, truthfully, with this Daniel Farke situation at this moment in time, I think the club are definitely looking at managers. I said that in this into the introduction. I think the club are obviously looking at managers. And if they're not looking at managers, they are totally daft. Like, they are, to be honest with you, in the summer, Daniel Farke nearly lost his job. Like, even heard Dan Moylan, obviously, of the Square Ball, saying this today, that he'd heard in the summer, actually, that he'd gone in the summer and he was going to be sacked in the summer. So if they were that close to being sacked in the summer, there is no way in a million years, with Daniel Farke's record, that had gone into this season without having a list of names. Now, some of the names might have already taken jobs. That can happen, obviously. But there's no way in a million years that they were not talking to managers in the summer. They would talk to managers in the summer about his job. They'll have definitely been talking throughout the season. And they'll definitely been talking it after Burnley, definitely after Forest, definitely after Brighton. All these games now, 100% they are talking to managers. And I actually think there's part of this that goes, I think there's a potential he's already sacked, but they're not going to sack him yet. So I think when we talk about sort of the 49ers being slow with the decision making, like, I only have to take you back to West Ham recently. And when they actually sacked Graham Potter, they actually told Nuno, because their games afterwards were Everton away, obviously at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and then they played Arsenal away, and they basically told Nuno, it came out in the sort of West Ham press, and their journalist basically said that he got offered an option where he could either take the job, then before the Everton game, or they were happy to say, look, let's put an interim manager in for a few games with these really tough fixtures, get them out of the way, and then you come in for sort of manager bounce with the nicer fixtures that they had coming up, I think, after an international break. But actually, Nuno decided to take over. They got a draw away at Everton, and obviously they got beat at Arsenal. And I wonder if we're going down the same path at this moment in time with Daniel Farke. In fact, my guess is that we actually probably are going down a similar path with Daniel Farke at this moment in time, where basically the sacking has almost already been done. But it's more a case of at this moment in time where they're going, we don't want to bring a new manager in for these games, so let's talk to new managers, let's get someone lined up, and then we will sack Daniel Farke. Of course, but we're just waiting until the right opportunity comes and the fixtures turn in Leeds United's favour. The only slight worry with this, and the only slight concern I have over this is if he gets good results in this period of time, because we know from past experiences that Jesse Marsh was in a very similar situation. We played Bournemouth at home, we're 3-1 down at half time. He looked like he was going to be sacked immediately. We then end up winning that game 4-3, then winning at Anfield somehow. And then obviously he keeps his job, and then we end up getting relegated that season. And I think a lot of what Leeds United fans are worried about at this moment in time is they might understand the logic that, look, let's maybe leave Farke in for the Man City away game. But what we don't want to happen is leave him in for the Man City away game. He somehow grinds and scams a result at Man City, which could happen. I mean, it won't, but it could happen, like it happened with Liverpool. And then all of a sudden you're going around going, oh no, we were going to sack him after Man City when he got heavily beaten. He's now won that game, and now we're looking at it going, well, how can we sack him after a Man City game? But I think what the truth of this is that if he beats Man City and and the 49ers have made the decision after Aston Villa, they've got to stick with it, and they've just got to sack him anyway. And that might sound ridiculous from someone that actually is Daniel Farke in. But if the ownership, in my opinion, think that Daniel Farke should leave the football club at this moment in time, which is absolutely fine if that's the case, and I understand why they want that. If they make that decision, they do think that, and they leave Daniel Farke in for Man City, even if he gets result, they've got to still stick to that decision. They can't bottle the decision then, because then they've done it once already. They wanted to sack him in the summer. They didn't sack him in the summer because they bottled it, because fans didn't want him sacked in the summer. Now they can't do the same again. They've got to make their mind up now, in my opinion, and decide if you want to leave Daniel Farke in, but don't bottle it if he gets decent results. You've made your decision. You cannot base a whole decision on one game against Man City. So, and him scamming a result, that cannot be a reason to do it. So, as I said, that's how it is. And the best example I can give you of this, and it actually worked for them, is that a few years back, actually they had Man City away, but West Brom got promoted the year actually we got promoted, and they brought in the Bilic was there in charge. Obviously, there was one that got promoted the year we went up the first year with Bielsa, and then when they got promoted, they actually sacked Bilic. And then they played Man City, and he was still in charge. And then they brought Allardyce in, but he actually nabbed a draw away at Man City, a 1-1 draw, but they still sacked him and brought in Allardyce the rest of the season. And they actually did end up going down. But the point is that they'd made the decision going into the Man City game, and then when it comes out of the Man City game, they get a result, but they've already made the mind up. So I think that's where we're at. Ollie on Tour says, did you see Lewis Denton's LUFC Lewis's tweet earlier before it was deleted? I didn't, mate. I didn't. Can you, if you could inform me of what that was, that'd be fantastic. Gavin says, don't bank on the 49ers to get it right. Look at the news from Rangers today. Yeah, I actually agree, Gavin. And to be honest with you, it's interesting, Gavin, what you say about Rangers there. And I want to bring this in the show. I was actually going to bring it later on, but since you brought it up, we'll get into it now. One thing that worries me about the 49ers right now at this moment in time is, I think there's an obvious sign when you look at when decisions have started going wrong at the 49ers and the football club, between them starting to do work at Rangers and Leeds United and the priority of Leeds United. Since the 49ers have come in, I think they've managed the club for the most part really well, especially in the Championship. But the closer and the more they've gone on with Rangers, and the more they've started to get invested in Rangers, the more they've then took over Rangers, we have seen the decision-making at Leeds take a drastic dip. There's literally a timeline where you go, this is when they started to get involved at Rangers, this is what happened to Leeds United, and there is a drastic dip. And it's because, in my opinion, Parag did himself too much to do. He's advising Rangers, and he's also in the same breath saying, trying to do Leeds United. Well, you can't do both, mate. Running a football club is hard work. We all know it. I know we slag off the 49ers and say, this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. It's hard running a football club, and yet I don't think you can run two at once. Maybe the top people, I know Tony Bloom runs a few clubs, like USG and obviously Hearts now and Brighton. But this is a guy who's experienced in doing this for years and years and years. I think it's obvious that Parag, for me, has took his eyes off the ball with Leeds United. I think it's so obvious because there's such a comparison between them starting to get involved with Rangers and Leeds United's decision-making being poor at the football club, because it wasn't poor and it's become poor since that's happened. He posted the gif of Henry and Carragher when Rodgers was sacked at Liverpool, and when people replied to question it, he deleted it. Maybe there's something in that. Do we Lewis potentially has contacts. I know he works for BBC, doesn't he? I think he does a bit of work for BBC with Adam Pope. So maybe there's something in that. I wouldn't be that. We'll get on to Rodgers in a minute, but I wouldn't be that surprised if they did Rodgers, because they wanted him obviously when we first got Daniel Farke in the first place. But yeah, I think truthfully, to end this sort of segment on Daniel Farke, my genuine feeling is it's just quite simple. Is that I think they are doing stuff in the background. I'd be astonished if they're not. And if they're not doing stuff in the background, they're even more stupid than I thought and I think they are. And at the moment, they're not in my good books, if I'm being totally honest. Not that they probably care, but they're not. So they definitely are working in the background. They definitely are looking for managers. There's no way they're not. So yeah, that's my take on it. And I do think I won't be that surprised even if we get a result at Man City, even if they sack him still. So yeah. Leeds have a motto: side before self. Rodgers is self before side. There's a number of problems with Rodgers that we'll get onto, which is why I don't want him. But yeah, we'll get onto it. Get one club right before you buy the second. Get one club right before you buy the second. Even in terms of like the ownership and sort of obviously buying Rangers, I know what you mean. Rodgers past his best, keep clear. Yeah, I sort of agree. Anyway, let's talk about Rodgers while we're sort of on the subject of it, because he's been linked today by, let's be honest, some pretty poor outlets. I think Team Talk have done a piece on it. Obviously, there's the thing that Ollie's brought up about the Lewis Denton tweet as well, or LUFC Lewis tweet. So there is points going in this direction of Brendan Rodgers. And of course, as I said in a few minutes ago, we obviously know that the 49ers do like Rodgers, because I'm pretty sure he got interviewed for the job. In fact, he definitely did get interviewed for the job when Daniel Farke got the job, but he opted to not join Leeds United at that moment in time and opted to go to Celtic instead, which obviously now he's left. So we know that the 49ers like Brendan Rodgers. We know that is true. My thing with Brendan Rodgers is I think they would appoint Rodgers, actually, and I think he's someone that they probably would go for. My feeling is, though, personally, I don't want him. I've never seen him set up a defence well. He managed to get a miles better squad than we have at this moment in time, relegated with that Leicester squad. Let's not sort of shadowcoat it. This Leicester squad had Tillemans in it, who we saw yesterday, and he's still a fantastic player. He had Harvey Barnes, who's just scored 2 against Man City at the weekend. They had Jamie Vardy in there. That squad was stacked with quality. They had James Maddison in the number 10 role. It was stacked, that team. So if he can get that team relegated, I worry massively about what he can do with Leeds United. My other thing with Brendan Rodgers is I've just got a feeling that it's too late on Rodgers. I feel like he was good 5 years ago. I feel like he's a 5-year-old manager. Like, is he good in the modern day, and is he good for a relegation fight? He's not got any good experience of a relegation fight at all, in any walk at all. And I just think truthfully, I just think he's past it. And also, even if you look at Martin O'Neill and how he's got on at Celtic since obviously Rodgers decided to leave, they've actually been better under Martin O'Neill results-wise than they were under Brendan Rodgers. I just think he's a man. I want a manager who is on the up. We never do this. We never take an upcoming manager who's on the up. We tried to do it when we went for Iriola and Slot after we sacked Jesse Marsh, but neither of them came. But we've never really took a manager on the up, ever. Like, you look at the lad at Rayo Vallecano now, is it Ingo Perez? He's a manager on the up. I want to bring someone in on the up. And I've seen people mention Xabi Alonso's, Cesc Fabregas, should I say. Again, I won't be opposed to that. It would be nice to see someone who's on the up and going up in the career, not someone who's been there and we're going, can he get back to that? I want someone who looks like they're going up the mountain, as opposed to someone who's been to the mountain and now needs to go back up again, if that makes sense. So I'm not Rodgers. I just don't really want, to be honest. Look, whoever we get, because I think we are going to get a new manager. I think it's obvious. I will get behind them naturally, because I'm a Leeds United fan and I want Leeds United to win. And Brendan Rodgers, if it works, could really work. I'm not saying it can't work. And like someone said in the chat, I think Rodgers is 10 times the manager Farke is. I'd have him over Daniel Farke. I'd also have more confidence in keeping us up than Farke, which is what Ollie on tour said. And I actually probably agree with that. I do think it's obvious that Brendan Rodgers' CV is miles better than Daniel Farke's. I completely agree with that. But that doesn't mean that... So there's a lot of managers that are better than Daniel Farke, but we're trying to get someone who's much better. We're trying to get the best possible option. And is Rodgers the best possible option? I'm not so sure, in my opinion. I'd be a bit like... Oh, all right, fine. It's not something I'm going to be campaigning about, I'm going to make a video, sack him immediately. That is not what I'm going to do. But he's not someone that I'd be like jumping for joy if the name was mentioned, if I'm being totally honest. Ollie on Tor says it's going to be Rose, Rodgers, or Svensson. I don't really want any of them, if I'm being honest, Ollie. I really don't want any of them. I think I think there's something in that. Rose is obviously still strong favourite. Svensson I still think is 1-1 at this moment in time. And Rodgers, as you said, there's been rumours around Rodgers today, and there's actually been rumours that the football club have talked to Brendan Rodgers. Again, it's come from really poor sources, so I don't want to make out that it's definitely going to happen because I don't want to be that guy, and I don't think I wouldn't use that as credibility myself. So I don't want to say that to you lot, but yeah, I think Rodgers. Look. I'm not totally against it, but does he feel with confidence and think he's definitely someone who's going to keep us up? Not really. Bo Svensson gets a lot mentioned. RB Link also. Has he worked? Yeah, I don't think Bo Svensson's worked for RB, mate. I thought he worked for Union Berlin and Mainz. I think it's Rose who's RB. Yeah, look, I think all their managers, I think, make sense that they would appoint, if that makes sense. I think I wouldn't be surprised if any of them got appointed. So I think Ollie's definitely probably right that there's something in that. But I don't know. I'm not. Did you? I mean, how do you all feel? Like, are you all like really happy with Rodgers? Would you be really pleased with it, or would you a bit like that's just so meh? If that makes sense. I don't know. I'm interested to know. So let me know if you are watching live what you think of that. Jack says don't want Rodgers. Thinks he takes us down with his poor track record defensively. Someone you'd want if you're established looking to push. Yeah, that's where I feel. Like, when Leicester took Brendan Rodgers, they had a really good squad. They were about 14th playing under Claude Puel, and it was just not going that well for him. But they had the squad there that could rise up the league. And I think that would be a perfect scenario for Brendan Rodgers. Like, he'd probably be a good appointment for someone like, I'm going to say Forest, maybe someone like that, if they got themselves back on track. Like, I think he'd be a decent option. But I think we're at the stage where we almost more want maybe a firefighter manager, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he's the right sort of manager at all. I want a manager who is going to set up, and I've said this a few times, I want a manager who's going to come in and set us up with a different tactical plan to get the best out of that particular game. So I look at the likes of Carlos Corberan, who we're going to talk about in a minute. I look at the likes of Danny Röhl, who's obviously now at Rangers. I look at the likes of Gary O'Neill. All these sort of managers are managers who adapt game by game to try basically get the best out of that particular. They come up with individual match plans to get the best out of that particular game with the squad we've got. And I think that sort of style suits us more than someone who is like, this is my way and we're going to play my way every single week. I don't really want that style because we're trying that with Farke and it ain't working at all. People have found us out and we're not good enough to play in one style every single week. So I think we need almost like a manager, as I said, who can tactically adapt game by game. I think they're the sort of managers I'd go for, personally. I've seen people like Thiago Motta mentioned, and I get why people would want him, but again, I don't know if he's the sort of manager that is the right manager for right now. Like, someone like a Motta for me would be a really good appointment if it had been in the summer, or it would be a really good appointment if it's next summer. I don't know if it's a really good appointment right now, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's talk a bit about Carlos Corberan, because Gavin's just put in the chat that Carlos Corberan has just had his first win in 2 months. Not convinced on Carlos Corberan at all. No, to be honest with you, I think Carlos Corberan's stock maybe 3 months ago was so much stronger than it is at this moment in time. He obviously took over Valencia last season, did fantastically well there. I think they were in the relegation zone, pulled them out, and they ended up finishing like mid-table. And I think from his time at the club, there was something like 10th in the division. So he did do a good job with them last year. There's no doubt about it. But my main issue with Corberan is that just this season, it's just not gone well for him at all. Like, I know he's just won at the weekend in a 1-0 win, but it's not gone well for him. I think they have got quite a few injuries, Valencia, but realistically, he's not. Again, when we're talking about getting a manager in who's on the up, he's not someone that I look at the moment and think he's on the up. But we wonder if last season was his peak, and now we've seen him go down that hill a bit. I don't know. He's not, like, if he was still, if they were like 10th in the division at this moment in time, Valencia, and he was still doing what we saw last season, I'd look at it and go, I'd go for Corberan immediately. But this season, you've got to say, would worry you. Because also as well, managers are still confident. Like, we talk about confidence players, there's confidence in managers. And is Carlos Corberan going to be as confident coming into this Leeds United job at this moment in time, based on how it's going at Valencia, than it would have been maybe at the start of the season? Probably not. Gavin says Motta would shake this lot up. He probably would, mate. It's just, Motta's a very sort of like almost quote-unquote hipster manager, if that makes sense. Like, the hipsters would love him. But is he someone that's going to get is he the sort of manager we should be going for, or should we go more for a firefighter? And I'll give you the best example of this. Like, look at last season, Leicester. They are a perfect example. They're in basically the same situation we are in at this moment in time. They weren't doing that well under Steve Cooper. It wasn't working, but they were in around it. And they brought Van Nistelrooy in, a bit of a hipster coach who'd done well, decently at Man United for a month, and I think they've done well in the Dutch league. And then he came into the football club, and it was an absolute disaster. And he basically relegated on the spot when he came in. And what they should have done at that moment in time was got something like David Moyes. That's what they should have done. And I wonder if when we're talking about people like Motta, and Motta's obviously a much better coach than Van Nistelrooy, but it's the same sort of hipster appointment like a Van Nistelrooy was, in my personal opinion, that I look and I go, I don't know if that's the right manager. And I think if you ask Leicester fans now, 100% they're all saying we should have took David Moyes at that moment in time. We shouldn't have gone. We shouldn't have gone for Van Nistelrooy. So I don't want to be the next Leicester, because we're similar to Leicester. I think Leicester were in an awful position. They were very similar to us, with not a great squad, but a squad that can stay up, and they just absolutely plummeted off a cliff. So I'd look at that as a really a worrying example, I must admit. PSF, nice to see you in the chat, mate. The only mistake the 49ers have made so far is starting the season with Farke. The problem is it's the biggest mistake they could have made. Well, I think you're obviously looking like you're going to be right. Well, you are obviously right on Farke. It's not worked, has it, PSF? My only thing with Farke, mate, and I won't change on this at all, is that I thought he deserved the benefit of the doubt. And I think, to be honest, majority of Leeds fans, like you saw in the summer, the reaction when they were potentially going to sack him, the majority of Leeds fans felt that he deserved the opportunity this season. It's not worked, and I think, obviously, we're probably going to end up cutting our losses at some point. I think that's obvious at this moment in time. But I'm never going to, even if it didn't work, and it hasn't worked, I still generally don't believe that we shouldn't have given him that chance. I still believe we should have done, if that makes sense. Oh, but you were right. Like, you weren't wrong, PSF, at all. Like, not what I'm saying. If we're being realistic, he should have been sacked in the summer and replaced with Motta. You're saying the same thing, Ollie. Yeah, as I said, these are all true. That is probably true. There's also probably truth that we should have bought better in the summer as well. There's loads of mistakes we should have made in the summer. We probably should have sold more players. We probably should have bought new players. We also should have. We basically went. We want Pajau, we want Muniz, we can't get them, so we'll basically just keep everybody and spend basically nothing. What we should have done is gone, all right, we can't get Pajau, but can we get an El Canous? Can we get someone of that next calibre, rather than sort of deciding to not sell the team and not invest in a sort of marquee attackers? That's a mistake I think they made in the summer as well, to be honest with you. Gavin says, not only a mistake, a newbie in charge of the Premier League recruitment. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's another mistake. Like, you could argue for me that Underwood was as big of a mistake probably as Daniel Farke. And I said this yesterday, and I stand by this. If Daniel Farke does lose his job, with the recruitment we have seen, Underwood should lose his job as well, in my opinion. Because it's just not been good enough, has it? It's time to bring back Paul Heckingbottom. Good idea, Ollie. I'm liking your thinking, mate. Did a good job. Steady the season for us. Came from Barnsley, fantastic. Who's doing a great job at Preston. Or Thomas Christensen, who's got Panama to the World Cup. Exactly, Ollie. I'm on board. Get Heckingbottom back. Bring Hecky back. What's Hockaday up to these days, Ollie? Says Jack. Yeah, let's maybe not do that. Dressing up like the Grim Reaper on the sidelines can't be helping. Lol. Oh, I shouldn't have read that one out. I apologise, Daniel. I didn't mean to read that comment out. I should have read it first before I read it out. Oh well. Wears the same outfit each game. How about he does a dash and changes it to a tracksuit, which kept Everton up? Maybe the play, mate. Maybe the play. DCL was a stupid gamble, which will cost us dearly, says Gavin. Yeah, Calvert-Lewin is looking worse every single week, innit? The only benefit with the strike situation is that Nemec's not looking too bad. Like, he's now got 2 in his last 2. Admittedly, his goal at the weekend, potentially I would have scored, but he still scored it, so, you know. Credit where credit's due. Fantastic finish against Forest. Took the penalty well, obviously, against Everton in the first game of the season. So we only need one of them to be good. We've bought 2 on a free. If one of them's decent, then that should be okay. We still need a right winger, though. I mean, we are, like, joking aside, we are desperately short up front. Like, as I said, the manager's one thing, and obviously the manager's going to lose his job anyway, so it's almost an irrelevant conversation at this point. I genuinely think, like, I am convinced he's sacked. If he's not sacked by Christmas, I don't know. I don't want to say it's stupid because he might not be. I wouldn't say I'll shave my head, but no, maybe not. Because I'm scared if I do shave my head, it'll never come back. So, but honestly, he's gone. He is gone. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, do people actually want Motta? Like, I've seen it quite a few times in the chat now. I don't know, I really don't know. Do you know one thing that's really odd at this moment in time, that I really, really, really think's seriously odd? I might have said this at the start, but I don't think I did. The 49ers were so convinced about sort of sacking Daniel Farke in the summer. Like, as I said, Dan Mullen, I did say this at the start actually, but Dan Mullen had said in the summer that and he's obviously works at Square Ball, they've got links. He said a director, someone in the boardroom said to him in the summer that Daniel Farke's been sacked and he's gone. What is surprising to me is, if that was the case and they were very close to sacking him in the summer, you'd have thought this season he'd be on a really, really sort of short leash. That's what I'd assume instantly when you hear that. And it's been the complete opposite. Like, he's had the absolute opposite effect, where instead we're actually keeping him now probably longer than probably a lot of us think. Which I do think is bizarre. I do think that is very bizarre. But as I said, it just feels to me like the heads have almost gone off focus and they're looking at Rangers too much. There's such a direct comparison between them getting involved with Rangers and the decision making at Leeds United being worse. Like, there is such a comparison. Let's get into some of guys' comments anyway. His record after 12 games is worse than Jesse Marsh. And the worrying thing is, Gavin, as well, is we've actually not played a lot of good teams yet. Like, we still haven't played Chelsea, who are second in the league. We still haven't played, who else have we've got coming up? We still haven't played Man City yet. We still haven't played Liverpool yet as well. Like, we've got a lot of bad games coming up. PSF, oh, this is not the comment I expected from you, mate. But it's nice to see, mate, because I said at the start of the stream, let's try and make it positive. So I'm glad you are in a positive mood with it. Anyway, he said, it may surprise some fans, but I actually feel quite positive at the moment because Leeds fans are waking up. We can achieve great things when this club is awake. Do you mean in terms of, like, because you've obviously been Daniel Farke out. When did you actually go Daniel Farke out? Obviously, you were Daniel Farke out in the summer, PSF. Were you Daniel Farke out way before as well? Like, when were you actually Daniel Farke out? I'm interested to know that. But yeah, I think even... I don't think I've seen anybody recently, really, and maybe some guys can be different than this, that actually think that are like adamantly behind Daniel Farke. Like, I don't think he should be sacked, but not really because he doesn't deserve to be sacked, but more because I don't want to throw a new manager in for these next games. Like, I just watch us at this moment in time, and I just like know what's going to happen. I know we're going to get beat, and it's like at that point you do feel like he probably needs to go. He needs to go, but I won't sack him because the games coming up are so bad that, as I said, I don't want to throw a new manager in. Harpo says it's the board that needs to wake up. Yeah, you're right, mate. And as I said, one of the main mistakes in the summer isn't just keeping Daniel Farke, isn't just sort of a lot of things, but it's bringing Underwood in and thinking that was going to be okay for the biggest summer we had in ages. And then it was, even when he came into the football club, it was then not helping him and bringing in someone of the ilk of like a Hammond who left. Like, we didn't do an equal swap. Like, it's almost like these people might think it's a stupid comparison, but it's almost like losing your right back in the summer and then going, we're not going to buy a new right back. Instead, we're just gonna play the under-23s lad. Like, that's what we did. We didn't bring in when we lost our director of football in the summer. We should have come down and said, right, we've lost our director of football. Let's go and get another director of football, like you would if you lost your right back, like you would if you lost your manager. Instead, we went, nah, we don't need to do that. We'll just promote someone within. That was a critical error. It really was a critical error, that. PSF says, I was Farke out when he failed to win automatic promotion in his first season. But surely you do accept, PSF, in the same regard that regardless, he completed his goal in the second season, obviously getting us promoted. Like, the goal was to win the league and get promoted, and he did do that, to be fair. Marsh had a worse squad as well, by the way. Only exception could be Rodrigo up front. Yeah, I mean, someone like Rodrigo in this team, Ollie, that you can't put a price on someone of quality that can get something out of nothing. And Rodrigo, I felt that season especially was that up front for us. So yeah, I do. I sort of agree with you, but the like, would I swap? No, I probably wouldn't swap. So you're probably right. Yeah, you probably are right. A quality manager would not be frightened of the next 3 games, says Gavin. He might not be frightened, mate, but don't mean he might not get any points from him. Ollie says, I think the run upcoming could make it even worse sense for a new manager. City could just be damage limitation, and maybe it's give the ground a buzz for the Chelsea and Liverpool games. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think when I was thinking about this today, Ollie, and I think this is quite an interesting point, actually, because I feel at this moment in time that there's almost this like, it's so, as I said, I've watched so much content today to sort of get a feel of this. And I genuinely feel like there's like a massive cloud over Leeds United at this moment in time. Like it feels like there's almost this grey, damp, horrible cloud over Leeds United that's sort of consuming the whole fan base and making everyone just feel negative all the time. And I think it does surround around Daniel Farke, if I'm being totally honest. I think there's this like underlying feeling that he's gonna go, but when's he gonna go? And can they just make this decision because I'm sick of it? And that's a bit where I'm at. Like it's consumed the fan base for so long now, and it's so negative, and it's zapping the enjoyment out of this season, I think. And I think eventually it will, and I don't think we've seen this yet personally, but I think eventually we will see this go onto the pitch, and I think we'll see the sort of the feeling of the crowd into the players, if that makes sense. I don't know, I just think that's coming, and I don't think we've seen it yet, but I think it's almost, I just think it's coming. And I think you're on something here where you go, maybe just like the Man City game, fine, whatever happens in that, get an assistant in, do whatever you want, play whatever. And then let's have a new guy in for Chelsea and Liverpool and just go, let's have a bit of positivity, let's create a positive environment and let's just go for it. And sort of let's have a positive, and let's get rid of this grey cloud over the football club at this moment in time, because it's just so sort of consuming. And maybe I feel it more because obviously what I'm doing at this moment in time and obviously doing these shows. But for the longest time now, it's just felt like this. You almost just can't get away from this managerial discussion, and you just can't get away from this sort of negativity that's feeding in. And the problem is, for Leeds United to stay up, we almost need the positivity, because we need Ellen Road to be bouncing. We need, like, as I said, Ellen Road yesterday, if I'm being totally honest, that is one of the worst atmospheres I've seen at Ellen Road for a long time. It wasn't great yesterday, and I just think it's all caused by this, like, underlying feeling of, like, oh, God, I'm sick of this. Like, I'm sick of seeing Brendan Aronson on the right wing. I'm sick of seeing this boring football. I'm sick of these press conferences that are just boring and almost null of ideas. And I think that's what it is. I really do. And I don't even think we played that badly yesterday, but it's just like, it's just like so meh, if that makes sense. It's time to bring back Phil Hay. Not the same without him. Yeah, I know. Phil Hay genuinely has been quite a big miss, I think. I do think that. Do you think Adil Hutler would be good for the job? Did a good job with Monaco. Would you take him? Oh, mate, you are really at the end of my football knowledge here. Would I take... I actually have... He's German, isn't he, I believe? I don't know enough about him, mate, to be honest, to comment. I know... I think you'd... yeah, I just can't comment really enough, mate. I'd just be lying to you if I could say any more. It's been handled so badly, says Clive. Yeah, I think it has. Farke does not help himself with the emotional fans comment. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's exactly what I mean, Gavin. There's these comments and picking Aronson. Like everyone, let's be honest. Let's be totally honest here. Everyone on Sunday at 12:45, because the obviously the team sheets come out an hour and 15 before now, rather than an hour. Everyone at 12:45 looked at that lineup, and the first thing everybody said was, why is Brendan Aronson playing? Why on earth is he still picking Brendan Aronson? That is all everyone said. They didn't go, oh, nice Strauch's back in. They didn't go, oh, I feel optimistic about the game. They went, oh, he's picked Aronson again. You know what's going to happen here. And I just feel like it's just so consuming at this moment in time, somehow. It's easy to lose it's easy to lose games by a goal. Yeah, it is. It is. PSF says the new manager might have asked for time to assess the squad. We know he's coming, and I think he'll know what he's doing. I hope you're right, PSF, because you've battered this drum for the longest time. The thing is, and I said this yesterday, is that Leeds United can stay in this division. Like, there is no way we can't stay in this league. We're not. I think we've probably got a bottom three squad, but very rarely you just see the bottom three squads just get relegated. Like, that doesn't happen because managers naturally overperform. Like, if the league every single year was the best squad finishes first, the second best squad finishes second, the third best squad finishes third, and it just went that the whole way down, that never happens. It just never happens. So Leeds United just need to outperform by one, probably, because I think we've probably got the third worst squad. All we need to do is act like the fourth worst squad rather than the third worst squad. And I think that's totally plausible. We can do that, especially when you've got the benefits of like an Ellen Road that we've got. And if you've got a manager who's good enough and he can get more out the playing squad. So it can happen. And as I said, there's no reason why we can't do it. So even, as I said, even though I'm not probably there yet with Farke, as a lot of people are, I am completely aware at this moment in time of this grey cloud that's just consuming the football club and just creating this yeah, I can't describe it other than really negative environment. What Phil Hay did to Bielsa was discussing. Yeah, I know he's got a lot of criticism for that, doesn't he? Talksport today, talking about Aronson getting abuse rather than Farke getting the sack. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, well, look, but yeah, part of it. And Talksport, let's be honest, do we really have to listen to them? Like, it's unfortunately not particularly what we like. Like, everyone in this chat right now knows more about Leeds United than they do on Talksport. That's my genuine feeling. Like, some of the stuff I hear on there, it's just like they're just not in tune with what Leeds United fans think. And I think it's actually why stuff like this, what we're doing now, and obviously there's loads of other channels that do similar stuff, does so well, because I think we all as a community understand more about Leeds United than these people do that are sort of the likes of Talksport, etc. Clive, with all due respect, Phil was just doing his job. He obviously told us about Bielsa's future being a risk. It was just his job. Yeah, that I know, and I'm sort of with Ollie on this, to be honest. I don't think he ever did want to. Like, he talked so openly about how much he liked Bielsa as well, did Phil Hay, to be fair. But I think that's always going to be a sort of an interesting topic point, isn't it? Anyway, let's have a look some more of my notes. This is one thing, by the way, that I didn't mention yesterday that's really worrying at this moment in time, and I haven't seen actually anyone else mention this, and I wanted to bring it up in today's show because, as I said, I forgot to mention it yesterday. But if anyone's out of the ground, it's probably not something you see on TV as much. But this squad looks like it's not fit to me. It looks like we're obviously fit enough to play in the Championship, but obviously the fitness level to the Premier League from the Championship, like everything, has to go up a level. And I watch our team, and they are like Nemecha was blowing after half an hour, like literally full on blowing after half an hour. And I think both wingers looked absolutely knackered yesterday. And I think basically the entire team, except probably the defence, looked absolutely knackered. And I'm there thinking, I'm actually, we obviously talk about the press and we want to press more and more and more. I'm looking at the team going, I'm not sure if we can. I'm not sure if we can. I think the team's not fit enough at this moment in time. And that's something that's really worrying, because if this is true and the team isn't fit enough, that will be a horrendous setup for the new manager. Because when a new manager comes in, you want the fitness levels to be at a certain level where they can just crack on and look at tactics. But if they've got to start working on fitness levels in training as well, and then they can't focus on sort of technical elements of people's games, and it's just running drills, that will take away massively from the amount of time that they can spend, as I said, looking at the tactical side of the game and tactical game plans to beat teams. So I'm really hoping I'm wrong, but I've got to be honest. As I said, looking at them yesterday, they look like as I think Thomas just said it as well. Agree, they all look leggy at 55 minutes. They did. They look like they're not fit enough. They really, really, genuinely do. They look like they're not fit enough. Because we never saw that with Bielsa. Never. Clive says, since Bielsa's left, we haven't looked fit. Yeah, I agree. I don't think... Like, Daniel Farke talks all the time about we need to be fitter than everybody else. Well, we don't look it. We really do not look fitter than everybody else. Whereas under Bielsa, it was... And I think when teams are fit, you can... it's so obvious to see. Like, it's... When the fitness levels are right, it's so obvious. Like, it was so obvious that we were the fittest team in the Championship under Bielsa. And it was also so obvious that even in the Premier League, we were one of the fittest teams in the division as well. Like, you look at Bournemouth, it's so obvious that their fitness levels are so high at this moment in time. I watch us and I don't see that at all. PSF says, this season could be the making of most of this squad. I've said all season, with the right manager, they will gain impetus. You have said that. And as I said, the thing is, PSF, with all this, and I know obviously we've disagreed throughout the season with sort of Leeds United and how the best way to go about it is. But I genuinely think that at the end of the day, the whole thing here, PSF, is that we both want the same thing, don't we, at the end of the day? We just want the best for Leeds United, and we just disagree on the best path to take, and that's what we've done. But the whole point of this is, and the reason we're all here is, we all want the same thing. We want Leeds United to win every single football match that they play. That is all this is. So that's why it's sort of been such a difficult time at this moment in time, because even if we disagree, if people disagree on Farke and they disagree on this player and that player and that player, truthfully, we all just want the same thing. That's all it is. We all want the best for Leeds United because we want Leeds United to do the best that they possibly can. And it's as simple as that. Harpo says, our club structure is still League One outfit. See, do you know what it is? I'm not probably as far ahead with the 49ers stuff as everybody else. I'm really critical of the summer. I talked about it the other day. Like, the signings to me look awful. Perry looks horrendous. Biel's no better than Strauch. I'm not sure Stack's a massive improvement. I'm not sure Longstaff is. I think BMG said yesterday that Okafor's not much better than what we had. I agree with that as well. Like, I'm looking at it going, the signings look pretty pretty awful, to be honest. Someone said earlier in this chat as well that DCL hasn't been quite at it as well, and you're right. Like, and he's another one that we spent quite a bit of money on. So they've definitely made huge mistakes, 100%. But I'm probably not there where everybody else is, or a lot of people are, where they're totally useless. Because I must admit, I thought they did quite a good job in the Championship both years. I thought the first year, I thought we had a nightmare of a summer. We had Sinistera leaving we had people suing the club, our own players suing the football club. It was an absolute mess. And I thought, to have that season, I know we probably should have gone up, but it wasn't. That was okay, I thought, in the first season, to say all the stuff that was going on that summer. And the summer after, it was like, we've got to get promoted now. And they did. And they put a really, really competitive team on the pitch that got us promoted. And they've also obviously looked at, like Tom said, looked at stadium developments and stuff. I think they know what they're doing to an extent, but I think they've been distracted by Rangers massively. I think they've provided with an awful summer transfer window. I don't think they've put the right director of football in. They've probably persisted with Daniel Farke too long as well. So there is mistakes going on, but I'm not quite at the point where I was with Radrazani and Orta and people like that, where I'm going, these guys just don't know what they're doing, if I'm being honest. I think they've got a few more decisions in them before I'm at that point yet, personally. But they're going to have to get it quick, and they're going to have to get this next appointment right. Because I think if they get this next appointment wrong, and it goes wrong from this point, a lot of people will say sort of 49ers out. And I'll understand that, because it's another season where we've got back to the Premier League and we've blown it again, basically. So I do get that. Totally agree about the fitness levels. We ran out of steam in a few games. Bournemouth comes to mind. Yeah, I completely agree. And even West Ham, maybe, mate. Even West Ham. Like, in the West Ham game, for the first half an hour, we were blitzing them. And then we basically had to sit off, didn't we, after that? So I do agree. Clive says we had one of the best squads ever at champ level. That's what I mean. And they provided that squad, didn't they? Like, if you look last season, if we're being totally honest, Clive, like, our winger options last year, we had Dan James, Ramazani, Nonto, and Solomon. That is ridiculous for the Championship. We had the biggest wage bill ever. So anyone saying we're doing it on the cheap, we weren't. Like, we had the biggest wage bill in history. We had 4 wingers that had started for basically any other club in the division. We had a brand new striker that we bought year before for 15 million quid. Like, the squad was absolutely stacked for that level, and they provided that squad. So I don't want to be... I'm not at the point yet where I'm thinking they're just total useless. I think part of the problem, to be honest with you, and no one really says this, is that the PSR rules are just a joke, aren't they? They are actually an absolute joke. I really do think this. Like, sorry, I'm losing my voice today, but they are the fact that Leeds United get promoted, and with our turnover, we're only allowed to spend £100 million, like a loss in terms of summer transfer window, is a joke. Like, we're just getting promoted, and we're competing against teams who've been in the league for year on year on year, and they can spend more in the summer. Like, that is going to be hard no matter what. So I do feel from a bit, because if we'd have had 160 million PSR wiggle room in the summer, or maybe more, I think we probably would have spent that, and I think we'd probably be all right. But I just think we're 50 million quid short probably at this moment in time. And that doesn't get said enough, that the sort of situation with PSRs is a joke. Like, we should have been allowed to spend 150 million quid in the summer. I do believe that. Clive says PSR doesn't force you to sign defenders on the pitch, which will always be the comparison. But we should. Do you not think, Clive, though, that so Nottingham Forest, for example, were doing awfully, but they still got in the Europa League last year and still managed to spend 200 million quid in the summer, and we're playing against them. Like, there's no doubt we're going to bloody lose if they've got double the money and already a better squad. Like, it is that. Yes, we've probably wasted money at times, and we talked about that earlier about sort of the signs not being fantastic, but we should have been allowed to spend more regardless. Like, we should have been allowed to spend 150 million quid. Like, the fact that we can't is a joke. Because we can only lose 61 million in a 3-year period because we're in the Championship for 2 years, whereas every other Premier League club can lose 105 million. It should be the other way around. If we go down, what happens with the stadium plans? I don't know, mate, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. Farke probably doing the same drills as they did in the Championship. This is Premier League. It does seem that way. We look like we haven't changed at all, mate, the way we're playing, if I'm being honest. Imagine if this team talks like his pressers. I think they probably are, Gavin. Like, I mean, it couldn't motivate a fly, could it, if we're being honest? Truthfully, though, the people about these team talk situations, like, if I were playing for Leeds United, I wouldn't need a bloody team talk. Like, I need a team talk in terms of tactical awareness and where I need to be and sort of, let's do these little tweaks, which he doesn't do. But in terms of a motivational speak, the motivation should be, you're playing for Leeds United, you're playing in front of 36,000 people who are all going to chant your name if you do really well. Is that not enough motivation? Do you know what I mean? You've worked hard all last season to get here. Surely we don't need to do motivational team talks. I would hope the players are motivated as it is, to be honest. If we go down, we're looking at 60-70% drop in value on the summer signings. We are to an extent, Gavin, but we've also, Parag, unless he's lied, but Parag said in the summer that every single, or it might have been, not Parag, it was the CEO, what's his name? Someone will tell me in the chat. But the CEO of Leeds United said in the summer when he did that press conference, Robbie Evans in it, yeah. Robbie Evans said in the summer that every single player's got a release clause. They've not got loan clauses. They've all got release clauses where they can leave they can leave, and they've got buyout clauses that are more than we paid for them. So it's not ideal, but it's not going to be horrendous. Like, it's not going to be as bad as it was in the Championship. Forest came up and spent a fortune to stay up. That's the difference. They did, but they had much more wiggle room at Harpo. And the other thing with Forest is that they actually broke FFP, which potentially we should have broke FFP. Maybe we should have done that. But I think we should have been allowed to be honest. We've approached the Premier League with fear. I don't know if that's true. When fans were saying those who want Leeds to lose can't be fans, my opinion has been that we were always going to lose these games, so it really made no difference. The thing is with this sort of, this sort of situation with fans wanting Leeds United to lose, I cannot understand that. I've got to be honest. Like, for me, so at the weekend then, were you an Aston Villa fan? Like, you weren't. If you want Leeds to lose, in my personal opinion, and I get the logic. The logic obviously is that you see a better future. And you're better to take one step back and 2 steps forward than not take the step back in the first place, potentially. And all right, fine, maybe. But honestly, I just can't understand it on a personal level. I just don't understand it. I can't go to Ellen Road at the weekend and think, I've paid my money to go to Ellen Road and now I want us to get beat. Like, it just nothing, that just doesn't feel right to me at all. So you'll never see me like that. I just don't like it. And as I said, if you were like categorically at the weekend, if you supported Aston Villa, you're an Aston Villa fan for the weekend, so you're not actually supporting Leeds. We've approached from. I've read that one out. Clive says under Bielsa we came up. Under Bielsa we came up with the same team with the same tactics and same attitude and added quality in key areas. Yeah, we did. Well, we bought a few good players when we got promoted. Like, we bought Rafinha, which was a massive coup. It's the first time in our history that we've come up with a small club mentality. We've got to come up with logic, though, Clive. Like, the problem is that we just, as I said, we were always going to be going in with a bad squad because we're never going to have enough money to spend to get to a better squad. I never want Leeds to lose, but I'd rather be proven wrong by Farke. I'd rather be proven wrong by Cat, but I can't for the life of me believe it will happen. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people are Harpo. I don't think a lot wanted Leeds to lose, in truth. Like, I didn't see anyone in the crowd celebrating an Aston Villa goal. I mean, they'd probably been smacked a bit, but I didn't see that. Anyway, we'll wrap it up there because I think we're sort of going around a bit in circles. But Rafinha wasn't much more than BLEA one. It was just a fantastic signing. And we hadn't made a signing anywhere near that level, have we? If we're being totally honest. Anyway, thanks all for watching as always, and I will see you tomorrow at the same time at 7 p.m. Basically for all this week, it's going to be 7 p.m. because there is games that people are obviously going to watch at 8 p.m. So I don't want to take you away from watching Champions League really. And obviously Scum are playing tonight as well, so you can more than welcome to do what you want with your own time. But but yeah, thanks all for watching, everybody. I've enjoyed the chat tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow for some more Leeds United news. See you later.